What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about the recognition gap. What it is, why it exists, what to do if you find yourself stuck in it. If you are stuck in it, what are some examples of people that are getting out of it? And all that juicy stuff. We should probably start by defining what the hell is the recognition gap.
We should. But first, we're introducing a new segment to the show called But First. I'm naming it right here, right now.
Fantastic.
And But First is all about our partner. We have our very first show sponsor and partner.
Look at that. Our show's grown up.
I know, it's all grown up. So thank you to our friends over at Share Your Genius. The show is now created in partnership with them. Huge shout out to them and our producers over there for supporting the show from the very beginning. Literally the second we announced it, Rachel reached out. So thank you for supporting it and helping us bring it to life. And if you, dear listener, are thinking about either creating a show or you have some content that you want to bring to life through a show, close the recognition gap yourself, I highly recommend reaching out to our favorite people, our favorite genius team over at Share Your Genius. Tell Rachel, Nick, and Erica sent you.
Oh,
Look at that. All right.
Look at that. Look at us go.
But first, it is timely though, because I think the number one way I began to close the recognition gap in my own life was through my personal podcast, 1000 Routes.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Which is also produced by Share Your Genius. That's not a plug. This is just a fact. No one knew who I was. And sometimes, like, if you're not blessed by the LinkedIn gods, where you don't know how to play the game, I think I was okay. I think I'm okay at playing the game.
You're pretty good. You're better than you give yourself credit for, in my humble opinion, if that matters.
Content Goat tells me I'm better than I think I am at playing LinkedIn. I'll take that praise. I mean, I don't get, like, people show their impressions from like last week and I'm like, that's more impressions than I got last year. I don't
Impressions
understand.
don't matter.
I know, but like,
let me rephrase. If you have 0 impressions, that matters. Like,
fair enough. This is very fair. Like, you need impressions. You do need people to see the thing. If no one sees it, then it's very hard to get people to care about things they've never seen before.
But like,
So
if you're upset that someone is out there getting like 50,000 impressions a week and they're averaging like 10,000 impressions a post, which is super hard to do right now on LinkedIn, that's just not something worth envying, because all that matters is that some people, the right people, see it, and that you're getting some inbound and people are getting to know
combos.
You. Starting conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone always knows in the back of their head that impressions don't matter and likes don't matter and everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that you look and you go, what am I doing wrong? So anyway, my podcast was a huge lever in helping me close the recognition gap. And I think it was for one simple reason. When you start to talk to people publicly, you make this even quiet public declaration. Like, you don't need to shout it from a megaphone, but you can make a public declaration that you are for something and have conversations with people about it. And my show's not about offers. It's about how solopreneurs are building a business that serves their life. And they're just telling their story, and we jam about stuff. And I cannot tell you how many people who I think have no clue who I am, when their offer comes up or what they're doing comes up naturally in conversation, they go, and I would really love to get your opinion on this specific thing called my offer. And it's like, people start to tether you to this idea. So the show was really helpful for me, especially in the early days. And when I say the early days, I started my show almost a year into being in business. So it was the first thing I wanted to do, but it was not the first thing I did do. It's also very important.
You're really unique with the podcast angle. It feels like a lot of work, which is why
it's a stupid amount of work.
Yeah. But I still did podcasts. I just guested on them. That was a big way that I closed my recognition.
No one invites me on their podcast. I get 0 invites to podcasts.
You don't have to be invited though. You can pitch.
You can go pitch yourself.
You can go pitch yourself.
I guess so. I guess I don't really know.
I mean, I don't know what that feels like because I've never had to do it.
I'm
just kidding.
I don't do that. I mean, hey, I go and invite people on my show all the time, and I feel like people will go, whoa, someone wants me on their show. That's
it's
cool.
A great feeling.
It's got to be a great feeling. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to provide that feeling to people. But I think it's important because the more public you are with these ideas, the more tethered to them you become. Right? We talk about this idea of becoming known for an expertise you own. So the podcast is one way to do it. And I don't think it is the first way to do it. I do believe literally writing on the internet is the number one way to do it. Still, no matter how stupid LinkedIn is.
Yeah, I mean, look, social's gonna social. Social's gonna be stupid. We're gonna
hop from thing to thing.
We're gonna hop from thing to thing. Substack is where all the cool kids are, like today. Who knows where they'll be tomorrow? But the point is, I like the explanation of social when people say it's just the easiest way to throw a bunch of ideas at the market and see what signals come back the strongest. Right? Like that's another thing too. Like there's talking about the same thing and becoming known for it. And then it also gives you the added benefit of getting to test which ideas are resonating with your audience and your market and your ICP so that you can double down without having such quick feedback loops on social. You could be spending a lot of time on content in other places like blogs, your newsletter, whatever other long form heady stuff you're doing. And you're not going to really know like, hey, is this the thing? Like, is this the thing? Like case in point, we'd never said the recognition gap out loud before until a couple weeks ago or last week when I wrote a post. And it really resonated with people. People were saying to me, I really like the way you described that. I want to close the recognition gap. That makes sense. Cool. Now we're doing a podcast about it because it resonated. Like we'll probably use this message. Like if this resonates even more and people continue to like it, we will continue to use this messaging as a way to describe our expertise and the problems that we solve. Right. So like it's twofold. It's really useful. Obviously, you just need to be out there and get known, but it's a great way to play with signals and follow them.
Yeah, it's like I've heard it referred to as the open mic marketing in that way. Right?
Like that, yeah.
If you're a comedian, you go to an open mic night and you work out jokes and some material and a set or whatever you're trying to do. And you learn what jokes are funny, what punchlines work, you take all your notes, and then you go and that's how all these comedians end up doing Netflix specials. They work out all the details at open mics or smaller stages in that way. It's the same thing as working out your material on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not where you're going to write. I mean, some people choose to write their manifesto and write their book on LinkedIn. I don't think this is an attention span problem or anything like that. I don't think it's the most effective use of the tool. This is purely, in my opinion, a top of funnel. The best use case for social media is top of funnel. It's just, how do you get more people to see the thing and communicate it in a way that gets them to care.
And it doesn't mean that you can't do quote unquote mid or bottom of funnel, even though I don't really believe the funnel exists. But like it doesn't whatever. We don't have to go into that whole thing. But like,
it's just, how do you communicate? Like if there's a better, more effective way to communicate what we're trying to communicate.
I mean, I think Ashley,
without saying funnel,
Ashley Faust calls it the playground or something, or no, shit, that's not what she calls it. That's a different term. She definitely says playground, but she has something else. People have defined it in different ways. Funnel's going to stick because it's easy to visualize and I don't know, it's sticky. But the point is, you can sell on LinkedIn as well, but the primary use of social is starting conversations, getting attention, starting conversations. Also, if you're worried about what it's going to look like to potential clients, if you're working out your point of view or your positioning or what you want to be known for in real time, like, let me just squash that right now. Nobody remembers what you said yesterday, last week, last month, last year. I have no idea what I said at all. I wrote a hook for a client the other day. Sorry, I just have to say this. I wrote a hook for a client the other day and I forgot I wrote it. So like we're on our weekly call and I had written a hook for her like 2 days before. And I started to read her content because she wanted me to look at it. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing hook. And she was like, you wrote it. I was like, oh.
You're like, sorry, children.
Sorry, children have
I have children. I'm tired. I just had Sam Brown on the show, and he talked about, like, when you go see your favorite band, you expect them to play the hits. They'll play some new stuff, but they're going to play the stuff that they wrote 10 years ago, 20 years, whatever, right? They're going to play some of the hits. And if they don't play the hits, you're going to be pretty bummed.
Yeah.
I think he called it the Forever 50 or something like that. And it was like basically the idea is, it's like I recycle my best stuff because not everyone sees it. There are new people who have never seen that before. People need to hear the song for the first time, but also people want to hear the song again.
I love that Sam does this. He has shared his Forever 50. I can't remember if that's what he actually calls it, but if it is, it might be. He's shared his spreadsheet with me once because when he was explaining this to me, because I've been friends with Sam for a couple of years now, and I love it. It's so organized. Like he has like his top ones, and like once a week he'll just pick from his file of his Forever 50 and just redo it. And now that I know he does this, I watch him do it like in real time, and his posts always get the same amount of engagement and excitement. Not to mention repeating yourself over and over again is just scientifically like a way to change people's minds.
That is what marketing is. Repeat yourself until you're exhausted, and once you're exhausted, keep going, because that is when people will just begin to get it.
Yeah.
That's
Sam,
marketing.
Sam definitely, like I've never done what Sam does. There's different flavors to how you play this game. I've never straight up just like taken something and pasted it and done it again, because for whatever reason, that's not me.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, Nick, you do it. Sam does it.
Time.
But I will reframe. I'll say the same thing in a different way over and over again. I just like the challenge of saying the exact same thing slightly differently because I'm weird like that.
Yeah, but you're a content person.
Exactly. I'm a content person, and you're not, and you don't have to be.
Right. Okay. We've already we've been running 100 miles an hour here. Define the recognition gap for us. Right. Let's start there. What is the recognition gap?
The recognition gap is simple. You're great at what you do, but nobody outside of your clients or your network knows it. So generally, you're in the recognition gap if your business lives and dies by referrals. Like you went solo, you tapped into your network, you did good work, they tap into their network to get you more work, and you're good. Like that is one very strong way to grow, especially out of the gate. Like we recommend it. However,
ask people.
Yeah. However, like we were talking about in the last episode, like if you are relying on whale clients or if you are relying on referrals, these are two ways that you can put your business at risk, because people, if that dries up, if your referrals dry up for whatever reason, you're going to have no other pond to dip your toe into and be like, hey, like I do this really well. Nobody knows what you do. So you might even be writing on LinkedIn and trying to be known, but like if you don't have a strong point of view on the problem you solve, then it's not going to resonate in the same way. Like Sam Brown has a strong point of view. That's why he can just lift his stuff and repeat it. He knows exactly what he's trying to say and how he's trying to say it.
He is well armed, that man.
He
has his ideas and he is very capable of communicating them.
Yeah.
I wrote about this the other day. It's like if you are walking into this era of business without any ideas or the ability to communicate them, you are totally unarmed. But these are two separate ideas. These two things that we're talking about, they're two separate things. One is the place you find yourself in. If you are in the recognition gap, it's the idea is that you are good at what you do, but not enough people know it. And you know you're there for a simple reason. If you get those referral clients or you go out and ask for business right when you get started, the majority of people I know have about 12 to 18 months of that in the hopper before things start to get lumpy and weird.
Yes, that's a really important point.
Yeah, you feel the anxiety of if a client churns or when a client churns, how am I going to backfill them? Can I get another client? Will things begin to peter out? And this is not to say that playing LinkedIn is an is a substitute for building relationships. It is not by any means a substitute for that. You have to go out and do that. But it's like, well, where do they come from? How do you start multiple conversations with people? And we're not talking like a sales conversation, a regular human conversation. And the concept is, if you create content or you're going out and engaging on other people's content, they begin to associate just even something as simple as your little avatar in your headline. And then when you message people, they realize that you're a real person and they're more likely to respond to it.
This has worked on me so many times. Like, please don't pitch me, but this has worked on me so many times. Like our friend Renee Froyo, I'll never forget. Like, she came out of absolutely nowhere. I had no idea who this person was, but she was the person with red hair and like an interesting background. I don't remember, it was some interesting color. And she was commenting on all my stuff. And so I followed her because I thought she had an interesting way of thinking about things, which is like step one, have an interesting way of thinking about things. She's a great communicator naturally. But then she DM'd me and was like, hey, do you want to like hop on a call and say hi? And I was like, you've been on all my posts. Like, I know you. It was totally different reaction than someone who I hadn't seen before, just hopping into my DMs, which makes me feel like you just want something from me. And she actually didn't. Like, we ended up working together a year later is the end of the story.
Yeah, like it's just become friends with people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Renee has referred people your way before. I'm sure you've sent people Renee's way before. Like, we 100%. Hosted her when we were running mini courses inside of the Full Stack group program. We hosted Renee and had her come in and do a workshop. More people got to know her that way. So there's a lot of ways that this builds your business. So it's like, again, we're talking about my podcast too. What's an easy way to go build relationships with people? And you go out and you ask them to come on your show, right? So these are all different ways of doing the same thing, starting conversations. And the idea is that like you're capable. Now here's like the aha. If you're not without a point of view on the problem that you're trying to solve, these conversations go nowhere though. You're not about anything. Like, people talk to you and they're like, well, yeah, I talked to Erica. She was cool. It's like, and that's where it ends. Or like, oh, yeah, I talked to Nick and it was great. It was a little, people go, it was a little awkward. Like, we didn't have anything to talk about. It's like, if you don't have a point of view, you got really nothing to talk about. If you do have a point of view on the problem and the things that you do for people and the problems you help people solve, it's easy to have a conversation with anybody because the whole conversation is not trying to convince people to see the world the way that you do, but showing them how you see the world. Yeah,
and your passion comes out because you figured out how to talk about it and communicate.
Right.
About
so when people say, what do? You're not like, well, I did a little bit of marketing, I did a little bit of this, a little bit like, well, it's like, you can just say it.
It's the best feeling, like being on the other side of it.
When you tell people something in a very matter-of-fact way.
Yeah, I used to be like, right when I went solo, everyone's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm an editor. I'm a writer. I can help with your strategy. Yeah, like, what do you want? You tell me, It's like, oh, shit. God, the things people ask you to do when you give them, like, a choice.
This is the crazy thing. The things that people ask you to do when you don't tell them how to perceive you. So I think this idea of the recognition gap is, first of all, it's clear that it resonated because there's a lot of people who came forward in the comments and in DMs were like, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And the fear, the anxiety of not knowing where the next deal will come from or if that next referral will come through. So it's like we kind of framed that up, I think, pretty well in a way that will resonate with other people properly. The next part about understanding what the recognition gap is closing it. So we talked to, like, there's content, there's LinkedIn posts, there's podcasts, but like, what role does content play in the closing of the gap? Because everyone thinks if I post on LinkedIn or I make a podcast, I will get inbounds. And like, yes, is that like the long shot goal of anything you do? Yes, but that's not really what it is.
Look, like, obviously we all want to wake up, roll out of bed, post on LinkedIn and get 10 warm leads. That is the dream. But it takes a little bit more work than that.
The dream is to not have to post on LinkedIn and get 10 leads. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate dream is to just be so known that you don't even have to, you don't have to do anything.
But even the people who are most known, right? People say April Dunford all the time. Everyone, she charged $60,000 for a day, like a day-long workshop or something. This comes up and a lot of people I know in the consulting space use her as an example. She's a prolific creator. She keeps writing books. She's writing Substacks. She's writing posts. She is actively going after this thing. So it's not like once it is closed, the work is done. Once it is closed, that's the traction. That's where you don't stop. It's not like it's closed and then you move on.
So are you telling me I'm going to have to be posting on LinkedIn for the rest of my life?
You're going to have to create content. You're going to have to write for the rest of your life.
Oh, fantastic.
LinkedIn,
it's the best answer.
Hopefully LinkedIn will implode into oblivion and we can start fresh on somewhere else. I just dude, like Substack, Kieran Flanagan, who's one of the main marketers or CM. He's not the CMO. He's a VP or something at HubSpot again. Launching on Substack this week. Just in 5 minutes ago.
It's such a trend right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress into that, but like your point about do you need to publish on LinkedIn for the rest of your life? No, but you need to publish.
You need to publish.
You need to publish.
You do. Because, look, like the counter argument to this is, well, why can't I just go to networking events all the time? Isn't it the same thing? And it's like, yeah, do that too. Go to networking events, start conversations in real time with real people. But writing is always going to be the best way to figure out what your point of view is. And once you do figure it out, the writing is thinking trope is played out, but it's just so true. And by writing, I think like for Nick, for example, like your way is like podcast and talking, like whatever it is where you can explore your point of view further and then use that to communicate better is what we're talking about here. And when you put something out into the world beyond just your existing network and going to like an in-person networking event, you're giving yourself more shots on goal. You're giving yourself more chances to become recognized more broadly and de-risk and diversify where you're getting your leads from. So the content is shots on goal. That's what it is. You are figuring out things in real time. You're sharing the problem process proof, the MP3 framework, if you're not familiar with it. What is the problem that you solve? What is the process that you go through with clients and with yourself to solve it? And how can you prove it? And the more that you write about it and you unlock, this is my point of view, then you go a level deeper. Like, this is the craziest part about all this stuff. Like, the more you know, the less you know. And that's true here as well. Like, every time I think I've like reached the top of the mountain of, oh, okay, this is definitely how I think about this thing, I then find a new level and I'm like, holy shit, there's like fucking so much more here to explore. And that's the cool part about content. It's an exploration into the depths of how you see the world and the problems that you solve. It's an exploration.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Kunzo has said this, and I think this is where I heard it first, but the idea is like, you're an explorer, not an expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it changes the way that you approach content creation. Like, we've all been told, and I think this is why the recognition gap exists for those who are actively creating content and not getting the thing that they're looking for. Like, they're still very much invisible outside of their core network or their core like peers.
Mm-hmm.
Is because we think that content is about experting everywhere, showing people how great you are and how smart you are, how much you know. And it's not. Mm-mm. It has nothing to do with showing people how much you know. It is everything to do with showing people, here is a subject that I know really well, and I'm exploring it. I'm poking around all of the nooks and crannies of this thing. It can take me in all these different directions. Because this is where motivation to subscribe comes from. Like, no one really wants to follow someone who's just shouting expertise at them all day long versus
but also
someone
like nobody cares. Like,
right. Expertise is kind of commodified in a lot of ways, because you can just ask ChatGPT for how to produce my podcast. Like, it's not that, like, the access to information is not, and I've said this a billion times, access to information is not the thing that people are looking for. Yeah. They're looking for someone to help them be successful with the information. And in order to demonstrate that, I think in the most simple way is to explore it. Right. It's like, climb the mountain with me. But you have to be clear about the subject matter, right? The category of expertise, I think, is, or the niche and the problem that you're exploring. That's really where the rubber's going to meet the road. Like, if you're just exploring random shit every day,
not going to work.
Then it's just kind of like a waste of time. Or you're just like, this is why I kind of only ever publish about the problem, because it was like, if I can't get people to see it this way or connect me with this idea, none of this other shit really matters.
Right. And my point of view on this is different than yours, which is why we make a fun team. I am obsessed with sharing the process, because the way in which I figure out my point of view, my like journey with the problem and how I solve it and why I care about solving it. People care about the journey as much as they care about the experiences, because it's so human. You can't help but want to follow along if you like the person and they don't drive you insane. Like, if they seem cool, you want to know, like, you're rooting for them.
But you have to know where they're going, right? What direction are they facing? That's why it works.
Yep.
Elise Lemay calls it the creator gravity. Like, what is people with gravity? Why are you so connected? Why do you feel so connected? Because they're on a mission. They're going somewhere. They're doing something, and you want to go there with them. I like the way that she articulates that. All of these things need to be true in order for the recognition gap to close. Like, it's not as simple as, and this is where we go wrong. If they feel like it's as simple as, publish my thoughts to LinkedIn. And there are people who have grown very quickly over the last few months publishing their shower thoughts to LinkedIn. Hey, you do you. I'm not mad about it at all. I'm like, I think we just got to address it. I just think you just got to discuss it. I'm not mad about it. I think people are entitled to do it. I consider this, or I've seen people call this the me disease. It's like, you are the brand. This is why I don't like the idea of personal branding. Like, you are the brand. You are the thing. You are the product. And it focuses more on monetizing envy than it does helping make a difference for other people. So I don't really
it's also it's just a different play. It's a complete entertainment play. Yeah. It's not problem processor proof. It's a straight entertainment play. And that is going to work to build awareness because it's funny and entertaining and we're drawn to that shit. But like, maybe it'll get eyeballs on the business that you work for or your own business. But in terms of getting people to trust that your point of view on the problem that they have is the one that you should trust to give money to solve it, like, entertainment is not going to get you there at all. So but he or she or whoever's doing these, or they, whatever, like, if you're doing entertainment, you can, of course, monetize that in one way or another. But like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about solos trying to scale, trying to become known for an expertise. So if you see the entertainment thing working, don't envy it. Like, that doesn't work for what you're trying to do. It's a different game.
Yeah. The best thing we can do is clear. Just get clear on the problem, even beyond the process, beyond the proof.
Yeah.
If you can become tethered to a problem and your expertise of, like, in your point of view on the problem, that is going to be that's going to create more momentum in your life than anything else.
Where do you start? How do you start?
Where do you start? Well, that's a topic for another day, but we'll leave you with this. You got to frame the problem you're trying to solve. You have to understand it super clear. So that means, What are all the different problems that your buyers are facing, and how do you combine them into one main problem? Is it a new problem? Is there one that's more pressing than others? Like, just like understand the problem or problems that they're facing.
Yeah. And as an example, the recognition gap is our ability. Like, Nick and I solve a lot of problems together with this new offer, and it's too much to be like, we solve this problem and that problem and this problem. Like, it would be too confusing. We can certainly write different pieces of content to address each one. But the best way that we can bundle it is by calling it the recognition gap and framing it up as, you're not going to be able to scale and get your business to, you know, from 20 to 65K or whatever more months if people don't know you outside of your network. And also, you're not going to have any way of figuring out what your point of view is on the problem that you solve so you can communicate it better if you don't have a productized offer and you don't have like any time to just step away and think for a minute about like, what do I actually, like, where am I going from here? And so we take all of that and we've like bundled that into something that we're calling the recognition gap. So that's how we're doing it. It's not the way that you necessarily have to do it, but like, this is just, I just want to point out that the recognition gap is our way of framing up the problem. So what's your way?
The recognition gap is a combination of multiple problems rolled into one thing. Like, we tried to name it.
Yeah.
The easiest way to get people to use your words is to not necessarily create words, but to like put words out there. So we called it the recognition gap. And it's like, basically it's simple. What are the main things? How do you combine them into one primary problem? Understand what the inciting events are. What are things that happen in people's lives that get them to see this organically? And how do you start tethering that? And so you could either future cast it or back cast it on them and show them that this happened, or I would say making the problem highly visible. So we can use the inciting events that way. And then we look at it saying, well, what are the reasons this problem exists and why do those reasons matter, or why is that a problem? And then we would future cast further and say, well, what are the ramifications of the problem going unsolved, and why are those ramifications problematic as well? What we're trying to do here is, because you're not competing against other consultants for deals, you're competing against inaction. Most deals are lost to inaction. This is like pretty basic common stuff. This isn't like, I'm not coming at you with novel information on this one. It's pretty common to know that. So if most people just decide to do nothing. So we try to understand, well, what are the ramifications of doing nothing? It's a simple way to frame up a problem so that you can go on and say, well, all right, is my way of solving it proper? Does it make a logical leap there? Is it too non-obvious, whatever? And then is there who I'm going to solve it for? Do they see the problem exactly this way? Do all these things line up? And then we say, all right, let's write out a point of view here. What is the exact status quo? We have a lot of this stuff. What is the problem as we see it? What does the future look like without the problem? How do we get there? So these are broad brush strokes, but we will go into that in more detail in future episodes. But today we want to talk about just overarching, what is the recognition gap? How do you know if you have it? What does that feel like? What does all it look like? And then, so I think we did that.
We did.
Look at us go.
Look at us go. All right.
Until next time.
Until next time.